Morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's absolutely a pleasure. We appreciate your interest in this very, very important topic, and I want to thank everyone who is interested, and certainly my members, my colleagues from the Senate Democratic Caucus, and on behalf of all of the members of the Senate Democratic Caucus, we want to welcome you to this press conference in regards to education policy and the future of the state of Ohio. If you would, turn your attention to the television screen here on my left, your right. At 9 a.m. on March 24th, 1997, the Ohio Supreme Court handed down its first decision in the DeRolf case. And I know many of you are very familiar with the DeRolf case. But for those of you who may not be, that is when the justices declared Ohio's school funding system unconstitutional for failing to provide a thorough and efficient system of public education. As you can see from our little ticking clock here, it has been more than 12 years and 2 months, and the clock is still ticking on school funding reform. This is exactly why, ladies and gentlemen, we in the Senate Democratic Caucus believe that now is the time to fix our school funding system. Ohio's school funding system has been ruled unconstitutional 4 times since 1997. So much time has passed since this ruling that those who were in kindergarten when the clock started ticking are now graduating from high school. We cannot allow another generation of Ohioans to be educated in an unconstitutional and outdated system. We certainly share the governor's commitment to ensure that all Ohio's children have access to a quality 21st century education that includes all-day kindergarten, smaller class sizes, and a funding formula based on research. Certainly throwing good money after bad in a system that has proven to be both ineffective and unconstitutional is not the way to progress in the state of Ohio. At this time, I want to turn the program over to Senator Tom Sawyer of the Akron areas of the 28th District, Tom? Yep. Who serves as our ranking member on the Senate Education Committee to explain.
Thank you, Senator Cafaro. There's a lot to what has gone into the work that has preceded what brings us here today. But it comes down to this. The kind of work that began in, actually not the year that we're talking about here today, but in 1991, when the first DeRolf case was filed. That's 18 years ago. There's an enormous amount of work that has preceded this. It comes down to this. The Republican plan returns to the comfortable, to the familiar. And that's human, that's understandable. It's where we've been for many, many years. It goes back into the last century. But it's not a fix for that plan. It is a return to that plan. And that's just not good enough. The GOP plan maintains the status quo by continuing a per pupil basis for school funding. Rather than assign a dollar amount to each student in Ohio, Governor Strickland's plan identifies the key components for what we mean by a thorough and efficient education. We talk about an evidence-based model. It's based on an enormous amount of research. The Republicans want to put together a council to spend another year studying and to produce a report. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had one report after another. They add up to a mountain of paper. The most recent report isn't even included in this stack. It's one that was commissioned by the Ohio Department of Education, the Ohio Board of Education. It's entitled Creating a World-Class Education System in Ohio. It was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It is an enormously thorough report. It mirrors the kind of work that was done by the folks that put together the initial proposal. The work that was done in the Ohio House improved on that proposal and brought it to the Ohio Senate. The work that was done there was removed from the legislation that is before us today and returns to the old proposal, to the old system that is before us. What the proposal that is before us today, however, does do is to create the kind of ongoing review that education in Ohio needs. It creates a school funding research and advisory council that continuously reviews the changing needs of education in the state. And it does it in the light of a changing economy. That's what education needs to do, is to recognize the relationship between an economy and the education system that seeks to serve. Those two elements in a dynamic world need to work together. If they don't, then we find ourselves once again in the kind of circumstance that we have been mired in for the last 2 decades and more. We just can't let that happen. I'm not going to go into the details unless you want me to in questions and answers, but suffice it to say that the myriad of professional education organizations and individual practitioners who have endorsed this proposal that the governor brought forth, that the House improved, is a stellar group of people who have been working on this, not just for the last 2 years, but for the last 4 years and beyond. An enormous amount of effort, an enormous amount of research, and an enormous amount of data has been gathered together to provide a sound underpinning for what has brought us here today. Suffice it to say that the great tragedy that we face if we don't act on this, if we simply return to that which is comfortable, is not the risk that we run by aiming too high and running the risk of missing, but the risk that the tragedy of aiming too low once again hitting that target. We've been aiming too low for a very long time. We know how to aim too low. We know how to hit that target. We need to do better this time. With that, let me introduce Senator Dale Miller, who is